Board of Supervisors to order. I don't recall whose turn it was to do the invocation, but Mr. Black? Mr. Black, if you would give us the invocation, please.
All rise. Heavenly Father, as we come before you tonight, we ask you to bless us with your decisions, with your grace, and make you look over our decisions. We ask that you look over different parts of the world that are struggling right now with trouble in Afghanistan, trouble in Africa, and trouble here in the United States. We ask you in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And while we're standing, I'm going to ask Young Marines Macy Ross, or Corporal Macy Ross, Corporal Brenna Ross, and Private Ian Ross, if they would come forward and help us with the pledge, and also your younger brother, who I don't have his name. So if the four of you will come forward to the podium and lead us in the pledge, we would appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
He's back.
We rebooted it. We're hoping they fixed it. It'll be a part of it.
All right. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, and we apologize for the delay due to technical problems. At this point, do we have any amendments to the agenda, Mr. Culley? I don't believe we do. So we have no amendments. Opening board comments, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to thank each of you for being out at our meeting today. I just have one comment. I would like to thank the Port Royal Town Council for their efforts in putting on the Port Royal Charter Day, which was held on the 4th of October down in the town of Port Royal. It was very well attended. It was a good thing. It was a nice day, and just an overall good program for the town, and I'd just like to thank them for their efforts. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Black?
Yes, I have a couple, actually. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who came out we had a meeting in Lake Landor last Thursday regarding the rate increases for Aqua, Virginia. And I would like to thank all those who came out to the meeting to attend and attended and who are willing to help out with that. That's actually on our agenda. I think it's number 8 on our agenda tonight. So we'll be talking about that later on. So appreciate that. Also, a couple weeks ago, in my district, Western Caroline District, we had a winery open called Sassafras Shade. They actually opened up today for us, even though they were closed. So I encourage people, it is Caroline's, I believe, only winery. So I encourage people to go out and visit. Great people, and it's very good wine as well. The next thing I have is just a kind of a question. I don't know if Mr. Culley can answer this. The list of names that we've been discussing with the personal property, where are we on that?
I haven't discussed that with the treasurer recently, but we should be close to being able to publish that. The last I talked to her, and they're working through the list to try to make sure they don't have any errors. But there's, I don't think anybody can guarantee, 100% error-free.
Now, do we know on that? Because there was a couple questions were posed to me, and I guess that would be an annual question. Do we know on that if that would be something, if someone's name was published wrongly, that the county would be liable for in any way?
I would have to take a look at that specifically to the statute. I don't know the answer.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing, I would like to personally welcome, my mom is here all the way from Maine, so supervisors actually do have moms as well, so thank you thank you very much. So, thank you.
Well, that is a novel thought. Mr. Underwood?
Just a couple, Mr. Chairman, thank you. First, I'd like to thank the citizens from Reedy Church District who came to the meetings on Monday and Tuesday. Certainly, it was a small group, but certainly had good dialogue on helping Reedy Church to grow and the county as a whole to grow. Secondly, I'd like to say thank you to the State Fair. State Fair was just outstanding, well attended. I think they did an outstanding job. We still have some concerns but I think Mr. Cully addressed those regarding a lighting situation. But overall, I'd say 95% of it was just outstanding. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like for Mr. Cully, if he would, or Mr. Fincham or someone, when Mr. Nelson was here with the Transportation Department a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Black had asked, and I'd asked prior to that, about a guardrail or a fence or something around the pond that they have developed. Now, they have put a fence around the storm management, I guess, pond, but there's another pond there that just, you go right off the side. I mean, and that's close to the road. I would think at least they could put a,
Mr. Nelson's here.
all right, great, yeah. I didn't see him when I first started talking. Well, we'll just wait until he gives a presentation, I
I
guess. and-
think we're going to talk to Mr. Nelson in closed meeting.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
you can
can I ask the question?
You can ask him a question, and if he wants to answer, he can come on down.
All right.
He's great. He's really
Good evening, Mr. Nelson. How are you?
I'm doing all
I
right.
wasn't trying to
I just happened to walk
behind
in.
your back. I just didn't see
You knew he was going to say something, so
did.
you showed up. There you go.
We looked at that issue, and I mean, it's not warranted for guardrail. The other location has a fence around it because of close proximity to the home.
Right.
But I mean, as of right now, it does not warrant guardrail, and we're not looking at putting guardrail up for that area.
What warrants? I mean, what does it take to warrant a guardrail?
It
when
would
you're-
have to be the driveway, but you have to realize that that location right there, where you see it currently, is not where the roadway is going to be. There will be a shoulder and a buffer area between that and the
Okay.
management
All
pond.
right, so we just need to wait until it's completed, then we can,
They're trying to finish up.
yeah, because today they
Before the
started
end of the
to
year.
blacktopping the,
Yeah, they
side,
are causing
you
some
side.
traffic issues today, blacktopping, but
all right, I will wait until they finish, and if I still have a concern, we'll chat about it.
we will.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Seeley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to remind everybody that the Bowling Green Harvest Festival is this Saturday. It's the 25th annual. The weather looks good, and I think the crowds will probably be huge, but would invite everybody to come and join us. It's usually a great day. My second comment, Mr. Chairman, comes, this week is National Back to School Lunch Week. And annually, they have members of the community, parents, come to the school and have lunch with their children to see what the nutritional quality is and try to educate everybody on what healthy lunch is and eating habits. And it's something that I have traditionally gone to every year. Today was one of the days for National Back to School Lunch Day, and I attended with school board member Mary Anderson, checked in at the office, got the badge, picture the whole 9 yards, made one loop around the building and into the cafeteria, talked with a lot of parents, some kids, and in waiting for my second set of kids around 20 at 12, the superintendent caught me outside the cafeteria and told me that I needed to leave the building, that I was not invited. As a board member, I was not to be in the building, and Mary Anderson could have no guests. I was pretty surprised when I asked him if that meant all board members. He said yes, and I said, under what authority? He said the buildings belong to him. I was very stunned. He continued to stand and said that I was leaving, and Marian Anderson and I exited the building right there next to the cafeteria. I am at a loss as to why, and the other thing that he told me, he wasn't sure that I was invited to the cafeteria. It's National Back to School Lunch Week. My understanding is the community is invited. But apparently, as a board member, I am not. And I will just caution other board members, he said the entire Board of Supervisors. He rattled off some other things, quite frankly, I can't tell you what they were. I had a tough time getting my head around what he was saying. So we were asked to leave, and we did, and I will leave it at that, but I don't understand why. Since the school boards have requested and many times encouraged us to visit the school, I figured this was a good opportunity. Many parents would be there. It's an opportunity to see the flow of the building and to understand what's going on and what some of the needs are. And the uninvitation caught me, quite frankly, by surprise. I did, Mr. Underwood, I spoke at the groundbreaking for the high school about 3 weeks ago. So, and we were invited into the school that day as well. So I'm at a loss, but I will say that it is interesting that because I'm on the Board of Supervisors, I was specifically not invited. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Seeley, and we, of course, will look into that a little further. I have a few opening comments. One, of course, again, I'm welcoming Mrs. Black. It's good to have you here. Hopefully you bought some lobster from Maine? No? Okay. Well, it's a good thought. But it's great to have you here. As Jeff said, it is nice to know the supervisors do have mothers, and next Tuesday is my mother's birthday, so I can definitely appreciate it. Glad you're here. I do have a comment for Mr. Fincham, who's not here. He's going to be here in a while. But the board we need to take some sort of action so we can expedite the Belmont commercial property. They basically have an approved site plan, and from what I understand from the developer, they need to subdivide a piece of the property because they're not going to do the entire site plan. They have to subdivide it. The bank won't give them money until they subdivide it. We basically have 2 commercial structures and a lot of revenue pending that rezoning, so we'd like to get them started as soon as possible, and we'll address that with Mr. Fincham and maybe close it or finish it up before closing board comments. And the one other thing I would like to address is, and I know reporters don't write the headlines, but there was a report, an article in the Caroline Progress that everything in the article was correct. The headline said, "New regulations delay school projects." And that's not really true because the regulations had been in effect since July, and they were going to be in effect since January. We knew they were coming. So that wasn't really the reason the projects are delayed. But I will commend Kevin Whiteman, from our building inspector, who stayed on top of all of the plans and things that were submitted to his office, because as we're all aware, incomplete plans lead to change orders, and change orders tend to be very expensive. So by Mr. Whiteman making sure the plans were correct and final and good bid documents, you're basically saving the county money in the long run. So I think it's a great idea that we have the projects going forward. I told the school superintendent before there were 3 things we wanted. We wanted them done right, we want them done on time, and we want them done on budget. I'm willing to sacrifice the on-time part. I still want them done right, and I still want them done on budget. So, Mr. Whiteman, you keep looking at those plans, making sure they're okay. We want something, and I'm sure the school board wants something the whole county can be proud of. So, thank you for that. That takes care of my board comments. We're going to move on. The first thing we have on our presentations and reports, Chief, we have a promotional ceremony from Fire and Rescue, Chief and Mr. Madiak, and okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening.
Good evening.
This evening we're here to recognize the career advancement of one of our employees. Firefighter EMT Tim Hahn is being promoted to Fire and EMS Lieutenant Tim Hahn. Tonight, our brief ceremony will encompass 3 parts. The first being the passing of words of wisdom from Deputy Chief Garnett on leadership and in Tim's new role. The second being the reading of the oath by the Chairman, Mr. Thomas. And third, as is the tradition in the fire service, Deputy Chief Garnett will present Lieutenant Hahn with a symbol of his new position, his new role, and his leadership element in our organization. So with that, Deputy Chief Garnett. Ricky.
Good evening. We're gathered here tonight to recognize Timothy Tim Hahn upon his promotion to the rank of lieutenant. To quote President Lincoln, "I will prepare and someday my chance will come." This is exactly what Lieutenant Hahn has done. His preparation towards leadership began long ago with his decision to enter the fire rescue service. For quite some time now, Lieutenant Hahn has utilized his talent of leadership in coordinating our public safety education program. With Lieutenant Hahn's promotion, he will be charged with leading a talented group of individuals that make up Caroline County Fire Rescue. Tim, with your promotion to the rank of lieutenant, it is imperative that you continue to develop your leadership skills, as every day you will come in contact with those that watch you closely and are in a desperate search for someone to serve as their mentor. I challenge you to be that someone. In closing, I'll offer words of another great leader, John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Lieutenant Hahn, you've been promoted because you possess those qualities to transform those words spoken by John Quincy Adams into actions. I congratulate you on your promotion to lieutenant.
Mr. Chairman?
All right, are you ready for the oath of office?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
I,
I-
Lieutenant Timothy Hahn,
I, Lieutenant Timothy Hahn,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
I will support the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all duties
and will faithfully and impartially discharge all duties
incumbent upon me as a fire rescue lieutenant
incumbent upon me as a fire and rescue lieutenant
of the Caroline County Department of Fire and Rescue and Emergency Management,
of the Caroline County Fire Department of Emergency Management,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tim, we have many traditions in the fire service, and one is the presentation of a helmet upon promotion. And I have your lieutenant helmet to present to you tonight. We know history tells us that about 1740, fire helmets were first invented in the United States, and of course they've evolved. But there's some symbolism here I want you to think about. Number one, the color red here. Not only is that an officer color, but that's a color of courage that I challenge you with. Also, we'll point out the eagle on the front. The eagle represents strength and leadership as we go forth. And there's a shield on the front. And the shield reminds you not only to protect yourself and your crew, but the citizens that we serve. There's your officer helmet.
Understood. Thank you, Chief.
Tim, congratulations.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. And that ends the ceremony. Pictures.
Lieutenant, you have a word to say?
I'll go ahead and thank the staff from all the chiefs here and the faith that the Board of Supervisors have put in the fire administration. I'll do my best to continue my public education services to the young people of our county, as well as anyone else that comes to us that needs any kind of outreach. And I'm looking forward to the challenge and the honor to serve not only the citizens of Caroline County, but our guests as well.
All right. Again, congratulations, Lieutenant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And I'd like to, on that same note, I want to thank Chief Loftus because he wanted to do the ceremony before our board meeting, and I thought it would be a little better if we did it during the board meeting. And actually, Lieutenant Hahn will have a permanent video record once it comes out. So thank you for allowing us to do that. All right, the next thing we have, the Ross family's here, is, do I need to wait for Mom? We don't need to wait for Mom? We do? We don't, okay. We have a resolution declaring October 23rd through the 31st as Red Ribbon Week in Caroline County in recognition of the Young Marines program. Mr. Cully is going to read a resolution, and then I'm going to ask you folks to come forward and give you the resolution.
A resolution declaring October 25th through the 31st, 2014, Red Ribbon Week in Caroline County and honoring the Young Marines program. Whereas the Young Marines is a drug demand reduction program sponsored by the Marine Corps League, membership is for children ages 8 to 18 or through completion of high school, and whereas the Young Marines models its program after Marine Corps' value of honor, courage, and commitment by focusing on teaching youth to live a drug-free lifestyle and teaching ideals such as leadership, teamwork, and discipline. And whereas the local branch of the Young Marines is named after Lance Corporal Caleb John Powers, a Marine from Fredericksburg who participated in the program and was killed in action in Iraq. And whereas Lance Corporal Caleb John Powers Young Marines participate in and promote the National Red Ribbon Campaign. And whereas each year, the Young Marines sponsor a National Red Ribbon Week that gives individuals the opportunity to wear a red ribbon signifying their opposition to illegal drug use. And whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign will be celebrated in every community in America during Red Ribbon Week, October 25th through 31st. And whereas businesses, government, parents, law enforcement, media, medical institutions, religious institutions, schools, senior citizens, service organizations, and youth will demonstrate their commitment to healthy, drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons during this week-long campaign. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Caroline County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims October 25th through 31st, 2014 as Red Ribbon Week in Caroline County, and be it further resolved that the Board does hereby recognize and commend the Lance Corporal Caleb John Powers Young Marines and its commitment to live a drug-free life and participate in Red Ribbon Week, adopted this 14th day of October, 2014.
Let's take care of that official adoption part. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution R3114?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Motion was made by Mr. Seeley and Mr. Taylor simultaneously, seconded by Mr. Underwood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. The motion carries unanimously. Would the Ross family, and I mean all of them, please come forward? Don't leave my buddy. Don't leave my buddy.
Pick the bottle.
Yes. You like Uncle Floyd, don't you? Wait, Mama's right there. Don't cry. That's going to be embarrassing if you cry. She's coming. Vote for me. Where do you guys live? Right before home? Where? You can move by the time you get. Okay. Where's Mom? Oh, you're going to take the picture? Oh, okay. Mark, how far do we have to move? No, you're fine. Pretty much good. We're fine? Charlie, the resolution, please. I got my hand full. Come on. Smile. There we go. All right, we good? Oh, we're doing fine. Good. Okay? I'm going to move closer either way. Wait. Okay, thank you so much. Can we do one of me and him? Okay. Mark, you got one of me and him? Me and my new motors? Thank you so much. You were so good. Congratulations. 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 Come on, you're going to be a young Marine. Congratulations. I'm keeping this. All right, here you go.
James is not here.
Eldon is not here. He had a scheduling conflict,
25th.
and he'll be here the 25th of November? Okay. Now, this was the second year that the Ross family came as part of Red Ribbon Week. So it's really great, and the whole family was there. I think that's wonderful. All right, so we do not have the legislative program. We have a report on the Caroline County Residential Expo from Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Always like following adorable babies to make a presentation. We are pleased the Department of Economic Development and Tourism is taking the initiative to promote the county's housing industry by holding a residential expo on November 8th and 9th at the Visitor Center to highlight Caroline County's residential developers, builders, and also that Caroline County is a great place to live, a beautiful community, a perfect place to own a home. We have invited all our local builders and developers to this event to give them exposure to the marketplace where people are going to be buying homes, and all will be participating. And if you don't see them on the list, they're probably contemplating being there. We also are going to have the county school system, Carmel School, and the Caroline YMCA to continue to tell the story of all the good things going on in Caroline County. Planning is underway to add food options on the site and other fun events at the Visitor Center to make it a very positive experience for visitors coming to learn about owning a home in Caroline County and being new residents here. It is going to be on Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The event really is sponsored, of course, by the Board of Supervisors, and we're also getting a generous grant from the Economic Development Authority to advertise. We are planning on advertising in newspaper, radio, and social media. The Residential Expo will highlight that Caroline County is a beautiful community that combines the best of rural living with a new dynamic future that includes great schools, excellent residential developments, outstanding builders, internet access, recreational opportunities, and a location that is convenient to everything. Caroline County is a haven from congestion and provides an outstanding quality of life for its citizens. And that's the message we want to get out to the public.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wilson. The advertising budget you have is taken care of by the EDA?
Yes, and what little bit we have left in our own budget.
Okay. And you have, of course, invited the chamber to help participate in this?
Yes, sir, we're talking with them as well.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Wilson? Mr. Akers?
No, I
Ms.
don't.
Ms. Seeley? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, sir.
It's a good idea.
Okay, we're moving on to appointments. We have two appointments from Madison Recreational Advisory and the Economic Development Authority, which Mr. Wilson just talked about. Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I do not have appointment for the Recreation Advisory Committee, but Mr. Millard Smith has indicated his willingness to serve another term, and he served the county well and the Madison District well. So I'd like to reappoint Mr. Millard Smith to represent the Madison District on the Economic Development Authority.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Seeley. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. Our next appointment is the Hanover Caroline Community Corrections Criminal Justice Board, and Ms. Esty Newbay Howard needs to be reappointed. She was filling the term. Any discussion on that appointment? If not, a motion would be in order.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Akers to appoint Ms. Newbay Howard. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously also. Agenda item number 3, which is consent agenda. Any board member like to pull anything from the consent agenda that's before us?
I just had a question about agenda item D, Mr. Chairman.
The Corbin Tower? Yes.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions? Questions, issues? Well, since we only have one question, let's go ahead and pull that question. Mr. Taylor?
Right. again, I don't necessarily want to pull it, but I guess my question is, we're going to rent space on the Corbin Tower as opposed to erecting a tower of our own. And I was just wondering about the economic impact. Are we going to rent space forever and ever and ever? And if we're going to do that, I would like to know some contrast between the cost of erecting our own tower and renting a tower. I mean, we're looking at close to $3,000 a month for rental, which is $36,000 a year. So I guess my question is, how many years are we going to do that? And when does it become cost effective to erect a tower of our own?
I think the towers before were close to $1 million.
Okay, and I had no idea, so.
We could probably get a tower for 30 years.
That's all my question.
And that was the case with the other towers we had.
Okay.
But that is a good point, because at some point in time, we'll have to say, as rents go up, it's time for us to build a tower, and I guess the little baby I had will be voting on that when we do it, but that'll be sometime later.
Well, that was my question.
Your church is on what road? That's where the Corbin site is? Where exactly is the Corbin site?
Deputy Chief Point.
All right. That is the one that's on the left that looks kind of rusty and... Okay, but it's not being used by them now, is it? It is being used? But not AT&T? Okay. Fire and rescue? Okay. All right, and I'd seen it, and we talked about Corbin, and that was a little off to me. I just saw that antenna a couple of times going that way, and I was wondering if that was the one. So, all right, Mr. Taylor, I think that takes care of your question?
Right.
Okay. So the consent agenda stands A through F. Motion to approve would be in order.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Black. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Wow.
We're in closed session. We're right at 7 o'clock.
We have a closed session scheduled at 7 o'clock. I guess we should go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back at 7:30. So we are going to have a closed session motion.
Want me to make it?
Yeah, as soon as I get it. The motion will be under the prospective business exemption of Code of Virginia 15.23711A5, involving a discussion of a prospective business where no previous announcement has been made of the business's interest in locating in the county. Mr. Seeley,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Underwood and Mr. Taylor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. We will endeavor to be out of the closed meeting and back at exactly 7:30. We will reconvene. I don't need that. At this time, we need a motion to come out of closed meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Akers to come out of closed meeting. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. Do all board members certify that only the action or only the items we went into closed meeting were discussed? Mr. Taylor, do you so certify?
I so certify, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Black?
I so certify.
Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, I so certify.
Mr. Akers?
I so certify.
Mr. Seeley?
I so certify, Mr. Chairman.
And I so certify. No action is required out of the closed meeting. Mr. Akers? We have public comments and then public hearing. If you could just, I know you got to hold on just 1 second. I know how it is. At this time, we are going to open up the board meeting for public comment. At this time, anyone who would like to speak to the board about any issue that is not a public hearing today may feel free to do so. And I understand there's some people who would like to speak during public comment, so if they would like to come forward to the podium, state your name and or your voting district, and and then what you would like to do.
Good evening. My name
Good
is
evening.
Laverne Smith Courtney, and I'm from the Reeder Church District. I'm here tonight to give the board, I'm trying to start a support group. In 2004, I started a support group under Cindy Gatewood's leadership. I met Cindy in Henrico at the Henrico County Victim Witness Candlelight Visual. And to give you a little background, I come forth with this project because in 1999, I lost my son to homicide. He was my only child. And through that, I met Shelley Schumann Johnson, who is the director of the Victim Witness Program in Henrico. So for about 4 years, I went to Henrico's support meeting as well as their candlelight visuals. Once I met Cindy Gatewood, I started that same tradition here in Caroline. We used to meet once a month, and we used to meet over in the Fred building next door. After a few years, the meetings, people started slacking off from coming to the meetings. So at this time now, I feel that there is a great need for support in the county. But only this time I will open the support group to homicide victims, suicide victims, domestic violence, anyone that have lost a loved one through illness and accidents. I'm here tonight to present this project to the board because I would like for our meetings to be placed on the monthly county calendar, and as well as to ask for maybe a little support, maybe like $100 to $200 a year to do basically like the candlelight visuals during Christmas time and any little small projects that we might want to do during the summer or the spring, like little picnics or, just a little get-together for all of the family and friends of lost loved ones. I have objectives here that if I have time, I would like to go over. I have mission statement as well.
If you've got all that and you'd like to give it to us, I have copy.
I have a copy,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, you don't have to read it if you just want to
Okay,
give
I
it
have
to
a
us. I think
copy
that'll
here.
be fine.
We are trying to get our first support group together to start the 23rd of this month. The manager of the Days Inn on 207 has offered me his facility there, which I think would be convenient for anybody in the area. That way you have access to 207, 95, and Route 1 rather than the narrow roads at night because, like myself, I don't like driving those narrow roads, at nighttime. So I would like to ask the board for a little financial support as well as to put this event on your calendar, your monthly calendar.
Okay. All right. I think that was your time. I want to figure out if there's anybody else, and then we'll come back and discuss yours.
Okay.
So if you give me a second to see if there's anybody else who wants to speak, we may have some questions of you.
Okay, sure.
And you can come back again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Courtney?
Yes.
We need your mission statement, if you could give it to Mr.
Oh,
Barton
sure.
right there.
Mhm.
And he will pass those to us, and again, our sympathies on the loss of your son.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of public comments?
My name is Nancy Kennedy. I live on Welsh Drive in Lake Landor, which is Western Caroline. I live in the portion of Lake Landor that must get water and sewer from Aqua Virginia. So Aqua Virginia is really my topic tonight. We can only get our water from Aqua. If we don't have Aqua water, we have no water. Putting in a well or a septic is not an option for us in Lake Heritage. I recently retired after 30 years of teaching special needs students in Spotsylvania. Therefore, my income is pretty much fixed, and it was going down, so staying any longer didn't really seem like a good option. So I currently have 2 part-time jobs to try and make up for the lesser amount I make as a retiree. So finances are certainly an issue for me. I live by myself, and my aqua bills are generally between $80 and $90 per month. This is not as high as some of my neighbors, but it's quite a bit for one person. I also I kind of ask around with some other people. I have one neighbor where the household is 1 adult and 2 children. His bill is between $130 and $160 a month. I asked another person, they said they have 2 children, 2 adults. There is between $130 and $150 every month. Another person, there was 1 child, or 2 children, 1 adult. That was the $130, sorry. And there was somebody else that I asked, and they said they normally have 4 people in their household, but right now they have 4 other people temporarily. So their water bill is $250 a month, or $3,000 a year, which seems astronomical. One of my part-time jobs is working at the YMCA, and so some of the people that I asked actually were at the YMCA when I asked, and you'd be amazed at how many aqua customers are now showering at the YMCA, and if there was laundry, I'm sure they'd be doing it there too. I have really tried in my one-person household to limit my water consumption, and doing so has really, it has a negative impact on your lifestyle. My idea of a good vacation is when I can go somewhere and shower without feeling worried about it. Some of the things that I have done to try to reduce my water consumption are limited flushing. I don't enforce this when I have company. I have rain barrels to use for watering plants. I frequently use the dog water to water the plants. I try to wash only full loads of wash. I run my dishwasher once a week. I rarely wash my car at home. I never water grass. And if I plant grass seed, it's just kind of on its own, whether it lives or it dies. I recognize, because I've been in this situation in the last few hearings with Aqua, that it is a private for-profit company, but they're not selling a luxury item. We don't have any options. They don't have to worry about competing with anybody else. I know that they are entitled to an adequate rate of return, but they seem to do a lot of bragging about how good their profits are, and many of their upper people are making a lot more money than I have ever made. We have very few options for fighting the water rate. Aqua claims to need these every couple of years. We can't go without water. Selling our homes is really our only option, and that's become difficult because, people are figuring out that our water is very expensive. I find it really frustrating personally that my only option is to sell my house if I want to avoid these exorbitant bills. I love where I live. I love my neighbors. I love my community. And really my focus at this point is paying off my mortgage, not taking on a new one. The SEC is the only way we can really work to try to keep the rates down. Right now, we are not only fighting a proposed rate increase, but also the fee that they want to impose, that we are scrambling to really understand and figure out how to fight. Landor has been hit particularly hard because of the sewer, but this is really a county issue for me, like Elsinore, Campbell's Creek, Countryside Apartments, Lake Landor, Bridlewood, Lake Caroline has now become Aqua, and also Port Royal is considering Aqua, which really frightens me for them. The residents of Caroline County, all of them, really need you to help us with this struggle. I'm on like this much. Is that what you're telling me?
Summarize.
Okay, all right. So we really appreciate the support you've given us in the past. We really need you to continue to support us, whether it's by doing things within this, whether it's reaching out to your counterparts across the state and our elected officials to, one, avoid the fee, which will impact everybody, not just the Lake Landor people, but also, and by showing, being supportive of us and by reaching out to our elected officials.
We do have some discussion of Aqua later on in our agenda. As a matter of fact, a couple of things right after that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Courtney, I Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of public comment? Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of public comment? Is there anyone else hearing? No one else. We'll close public comment. Now, for the program that Ms. Courtney talked about, it sounds like a great program. I'm just trying to figure out what department to attach it to, like social services or something like that.
Mr. Chairman, I talked to Ms. Courtney last week and encouraged her to come before the board and discuss the program. And I think we should, I told Mr. Seeley, of course, as our representative on the Social Services Board, and that we would certainly want to hear what she had to say and discuss the program and probably in some way have social services involved in this program as well.
I think that's what you should do.
I was going to
just
say,
looking for
can I
calendar.
take it to the Social Services Board? We meet next week.
What day
and
next
then-
week? You meet Tuesday, 22nd?
I think we meet
I mean,
the 20
Wednesday? Wednesday the 22nd?
I believe that's the date. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I need to look at, see where it's
Oh.
written down at, because I don't remember.
Okay.
We are meeting, I think we
Third
moved
Wednesday.
off of Wednesdays. It may be Tuesday.
Okay. But your program for the 23rd is pretty much set up at the Days Inn already, right?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, it costs the county nothing to put your monthly meeting on our website and make it part of the county calendar. We'd be happy to do that. What time?
Well, we're going to set it for 6 to 7.
Okay.
And then if we need to, then we will extend the time.
Okay. October 23rd from 6 to 7. So that meeting will be able to take place at Days End due to private. That will allow Mr. Seeley a chance to take it to the board, see if social services can absorb this program. I'm sure there's a couple of $100 in their budget as she requested to take care of it.
I'll talk to him.
Sound good? Okay. So we're going to move it forward. We're going to put you on the county calendar, and we're going to try to tie you into social services. You're welcome. And then we are going to address Mrs. Kennedy in a couple of agenda items when we talk about Aqua. All right. Now we'll move to public hearing. Our only public hearing for the night is the proposed franchise agreement with Comcast of Virginia. As board members are aware, this is the cable franchise company that has the western part of the county. And we have the franchise agreement. I just need to open the public hearing, which it looks like there's going to be a lot of people who want to talk about it. So we will declare the public hearing for the Comcast franchise agreement to be opened. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Mr. Black or Mr. Akers, you're the Comcast areas. What do you have to say about this?
Well, we certainly have been, had this franchise agreement circulating for 10 years?
15.
Well, 15 years, so it's time we do something with it. I think we went over it pretty well. I think Ann Neal has done a good job in putting this agreement together. I have no issues. I think we were able to get them in order to broadcast the board meetings in the western side of the county, which has been lacking for the last probably 10 years or close to it. So I have no issues with the franchise agreement at this point.
No issues?
No issues whatsoever.
Motion's in order? We need a motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the franchise agreement with Comcast of Virginia as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Black to approve the Comcast franchise agreement with the county. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Mr. Akers is going to be right back. We're going to move on while you're gone. At this point, we'll go to agenda item number 5, which is a continued discussion of potential application for fiscal year 2016 Virginia Department of Transportation Revenue Sharing Program. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is your continuing discussion of the matching road fund potential for fiscal year 2016. The department has been meeting with VDOT a number of times and recommends to the board that we participate in the matching road fund project in the Route 639 corridor off of Interchange 110 to the sum not to exceed $2.5 million. And your approval would be required.
All right, I don't think I have, I was trying to pull up the project itself. I don't think I have any questions. Any other board member have any questions? Mr. Fincham, are you coming to help or are you going somewhere else?
I was just going to address one point of clarification. As the board is aware, there is another prospect that we have been discussing potential revenue sharing. In talking to Mr. Nelson, an application actually requires an adopted resolution from the Board of Supervisors, which if that project were to materialize between tonight and the end of the month, we could not get that into the revenue sharing queue for this year.
Without the resolution?
Without the resolution.
Okay.
Understanding that it does not obligate us to spend any of those funds, in addition to the number requested by Mr. Wilson, the board could consider actually a higher number for the second revenue sharing project, and if it fails to materialize, it does not count against us.
Okay.
Just to protect your interest in that project if you so desire. And I think Mr. Nelson could address that in a little more detail if you have any questions. Other localities have done similar.
The same thing. Mr. Nelson, you don't have to come forward. If you could just nod your head, VDOT would be agreeable to something like that as long as we got it in before the 31st? Okay. Mr. Nelson nods his head and says yes. So, okay, I think that's what we needed. And Mr. Wilson, you would confer with that?
Yes, sir.
We didn't have a number for the other project. Because I think we have to have a number actually for the resolution.
The total number would be $3.425 million.
For the other project.
Well, altogether it'd be 3.425. This project would be $925,000. We'd be asking you to go in revenue sharing, which would be a total of 1.8 total.
Okay.
So an additional $925,000 over what Mr. Wilson has requested.
The 2.5 he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for the information.
Yes, sir.
Logistically, we need any questions about the potential revenue sharing projects? No. Okay. We are going to vote on that, and whoever makes the motion, I would ask them to make the motion to approve it as stated, give staff the ability to create the resolution, and give the chair the ability to sign the resolution to go to VDOT before October 31st. So, is there a motion regarding the revenue sharing applications that we've heard about to move forward?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we do a revenue sharing recommendation of $3.425 million with a resolution to be signed by the chairman for the 2016 revenue sharing issue and needs to be in by October 31st.
That's good. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Black. Discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. And staff will get all the details and let me know, and I'll come by and sign it, and we'll go from there. Okay, agenda item number 6 is the proposed, thank you, Mr. Nelson, is a proposed discussion on the, or the proposed county participation in the opposition to Aqua Virginia's rate increase and the surcharge proposal before the SEC. And Mr. Black, I think you had a statement you wanted to say.
Mr. Chairman, we have a, just to, I guess Ms. Cosby's here, just to clarify a couple things. There's actually 2 cases that are going on right now in front of the SEC. There's resolutions that were prepared by the Sands Anderson in regards to this. As Ms. Kennedy had mentioned earlier, the first one is actually a rate case, which, if you guys are unaware of, it's an average of 9 or 10% in Virginia for the increase for Aqua Virginia. In places like Lake Heritage and Lake Landor, it's 15% on water, 4 to 5% roughly, 15% on water, 4 to 5% on sewer. So that's where you get your average. That's something typical that Aqua has done in the past. It seems to happen every 2 to 3 years that they ask for a rate increase. There was actually, and I will send it to Mr. Cully so all you can have the information. There was actually a PowerPoint that we did kind of going over the costs. Some of the rates have gone up on water and sewer. Some of them have gone up 200% on water, 300+% on sewer rates over since 2008. The second case is the one that we're also very concerned about. It would be a surcharge that they could put into the bills. And there is a resolution in here that Ms. Cosby has worked on, as well as myself. We've looked at this a little bit regarding that is the one that's kind of more dangerous because there's a fear that with a surcharge, Aqua could actually kind of double charge its citizens. As of right now, and Ms. Cosby can add stuff to this, anytime Aqua goes for a rate increase, there needs to be a public hearing on that rate increase. It appears the question in front on the surcharge is more of a legal question on whether the State Corporation Commission has the authority to give a private company the ability to basically to initiate a surcharge if the State Corporation Commission has that authority outside of the General Assembly. And so that's kind of a big issue. And then if they do, there seems to be the wording that they've put in to the State Corporation Commission is it doesn't seem that they need a public hearing to increase that surcharge like they would do the regular rates. So we have some obviously some major concerns regarding this surcharge. Their argument is it's to pay for infrastructure and they won't have to go with rate increases as often. That's the idea. I'm not sure that the citizens of Lake Landor would agree with that. So I guess that's, Ms. Cosby, if you could, if there's anything that you would like to add to that. I mean, as far as, we'll just kind of give them some background. So we have a resolution in front of you that we would like the county to adopt. And I think we also need to look at participating in both the rate case, because there's 2 different cases here, which is typical that we've done in the past, as well as the surcharge case. File comments in the surcharge case.
I would just, I think Mr. Black has accurately described both cases. The rate increase case is one that's similar, and the county has participated in the past where we filed a notice of participation, appeared before the State Corporation Commission. I believe Mr. Akers had come or made a statement that was presented to the SEC. In those cases, we haven't generally participated for the full hearing, but we have made the county's concerns known to the State Corporation Commission as to the effect on customers. The second case that Mr. Black had discussed was this proposed rulemaking, which essentially asks, and it's Aqua and other companies, where they've asked that the State Corporation Commission consider adopting a rule that would set up a procedure where companies could come to the SEC and ask for approval of a plan that identifies particular infrastructure that needs to be improved, and the plan identifies that infrastructure and how it would be paid for, essentially by the customers in that territory, in that service area. And that's a rider to the plan. So they come in with their plan and their rider, and then the SCC would hold a public hearing on that first plan and rider, and then would, if it was found to be prudent and reasonable, could approve that plan, and then the utility company would be able to thereafter impose that surcharge, and then annually it would be adjusted. I think we talked about like a checkbook, at the end of the year. And so the rider, the rate could be adjusted up or down, but that would only need SCC administrative approval. So once it's approved, it can go up or down. It could go up, and the company would just need to go to the SCC and get administrative approval. There wouldn't be the second public hearing. So in the resolution that is before you, in that rulemaking case, there's the opportunity for the county and any other participant to file comments on the request for the rulemaking. There's also an opportunity to request a hearing on any issue if the county believes that a hearing is necessary. And as Mr. Black mentioned, in this particular case, there are two legal issues that the SCC has directed. Anybody who wants to participate in this case must answer two questions, and they're primarily legal questions. The first is whether the SCC even has the authority under the current enabling legislation in the Code of Virginia to allow it to adopt the rule and the procedure that's being proposed. And if it does, then should it do so without an express directive from the General Assembly? Anybody wishing to file comments or a notice of, or a request for a hearing has to answer those two essentially legal questions, which does make this somewhat different than what we've done before, because in order to do that, that issue needs to be addressed by an attorney, and so that would be part of the filing of these comments. The resolution before you essentially directs, it finds that the petition for rulemaking is not in the best interest of the residents of the county, and it's unfair and unjust and potentially unauthorized. But it directs the county attorney to file comments in the proceeding pending before the State Corporation Commission, consistent with these three criteria, which are that any rider approved by the SCC would ensure that affected customers pay Aqua no more than they would for the surcharge than they would for a rate case. In other words, typically, they get reimbursed through the rate case. If you're going to do a surcharge, make sure that the customer is not going to be paying any more, that it's all equivalent. So regardless of the mechanism, the customer doesn't pay any more. That's one request. The second is that the rider, any subsequent approval of the rider that increases the rate must be done through have a public participation option, and that the plan and rider could only be approved if also shown to be in the best interest of the customer. So that would be the consistency. Those would be the comments that our office would be filing on behalf of the county. We'd also have to address those legal issues. As far as a hearing, I think that the option of requesting a hearing could be included in that, but that might not be something that would be necessary. I would note in some of these cases it's generally good. In the past, we've talked about having an expert to assist the county. I have talked to somebody and I've spoken to staff and Mr. Black about, we have the potential to have an expert assist us if that's something that the board, would want to do at some amount. I believe the rate's reasonable, but again, that's something for the board just to have that extra resource available. So that's generally the resolution and what assistance we could offer.
We have the resolution before us, and the resolution, one's old, one's new.
No, they're two.
I got old and new.
One's for the rate case and one's for the rulemaking.
So it should have been first and second. Okay.
Case
Old is
one.
first, new is second, okay. So we have two resolutions in front of us. 32 and 33. And the estimate of county cost is $30,000 to $60,000?
For both cases?
The estimated cost, I'm just reading what you have here. The estimated cost for both the expert and attorney fees for the rate increase aspect alone is anywhere from 30 to 60. So that's only the rate increase.
That is correct. If with an expert.
That's for the rate making. That's for the 30 to 60,000. It would be for the rate case.
I don't think I've
Right,
yeah.
That
not
would be for the rate case. We, in my experience in the past, is when I was on the board in Lake Landor, we had actually spent the $60,000 on an expert. And as far as the rate case, we didn't get very far with the expert at $60,000. I think the bigger concern, and I do think we need to file, the $30,000 to $60,000 costs you. The reason why that's so expensive in the rate case is because you have to hire an expert. They're looking at numbers. They're number crunching. The experts they're hiring in a rate case, you're hiring someone to go behind the SEC. Why? And it's basically someone crunching numbers from that perspective. I think since we have two cases here, I do think that we need to file that we are opposed to the rate. I don't think there's any question there's opposed to the rate. It's the question of what you get back in return for spending $60,000. Generally in the past, when entities from going down, Mr. Akers probably could verify this as well. From going down, when entities in the past have indeed spent that money. Ms. Kennedy's in the audience as well. There's not been a lot of return on that investment. I think if we're going to spend money on a case, the case that we would spend money on would be the surcharge case, allowing them to do a surcharge. If we were to put money into it, that would be the legal case, simply because that's more of a. The question is whether they have the legal authority to do it at the beginning.
But the rule case is going to be an additional amount above and beyond this 30 to 60,000 that's in the memo.
No, well, I mean, no.
You're saying the two together.
No.
All I want to know is how much it's going to cost.
We're not recommending doing the 30 or 60 for the rate case. So we just want to file a petition to get notice to get in the rate case, and give you a chance to make comments and that type of thing, but not hire an expert and spend 30 to 60 on the rate case. In talking to the expert, he said the best you can probably hope for would be a 1% to 2% reduction in the rate, and it's probably not worth the county spending $60,000 for that little bit of reduction in the rate. We believe the money would be better spent on the surcharge case, the rulemaking case, but I don't know that it's $30,000. I don't know that we really have. We think we ought to put the consultant on retainer, and it would have to do some legal briefing. It would be some legal work, but I don't want to put words in their mouth.
So we're going to pay legal fees regardless. But the first point is, I think we all agree that we would file and submit at least two resolutions opposing the rate increase and a resolution opposing the rulemaking case. Then you'll get us some sort of estimate of how much it'll cost, legal fees, ballpark. Okay, so we can understand what kind of investment we're making to fight this case with the SEC, which may or may not be successful. They're rarely successful, period, but...
And I think we have a much better chance because it's more of a legal question on the rulemaking case. The other thing, too, that we can do with this case is when you go to a rate-making case, it's my understanding, and Ms. Cosby, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they have different tiers on the rate-making case. So you have like water tier 1, water tier 2, water tier 3, sewer tier 1, sewer tier 2. They've been narrowing them down. They used to have 5 different categories. They're down to, I think, about 3 on the rate. On the rulemaking case, everyone across the state would be under the same surcharge. So if we were able to maybe, I don't know if that's possible, we talked about sending this resolution to other counties that are serviced by Aqua with a letter from the county saying, hey, look, I'm sure they're aware of it, but the comments have to be in by November 7th on this case, on the rulemaking case. So
you want to make a motion to adopt the 2 resolutions, and we'll get them in right now.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make do we need a separate motion for each one, or? Okay.
R30, R32,
All right,
and
I do
we're
not
going to
have
assume
R30.
this one is R33.
Where is the?
R3214 and R3314.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution R3214.
Second.
All in favor say, motion made by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Mr. Black?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R3314.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. So we're going to move those two forward. And of course, we can post these on the county website. County opposes aqua increase, and that way anybody else involved can get it off our website.
And, yeah.
Or if you'd like, you can be proactive and send it to people.
Yes, we
Can we-
plan on doing that.
So we can do that.
Also send this to all our House of Delegate members and our state senator.
We can mail it to anybody we want.
And that was a question I was going to ask. And, if they do not have the authority, if it's determined they do not have the ability to, say, Corporation Commission, in order to make these rule changes, they would have to get it through the General Assembly.
Right.
So we need to, and I think, okay, we need to start that process right now, and getting someone on board in the Senate as well as the House that's going to support not allowing them to have this authority, so we can block it. Now, to be honest with you, if you stop and look at surcharges on its face, it may not sound like a bad idea, but if it was a company that we could deal with and we felt confident with, I don't know that we would have as much opposition to it, or I wouldn't have as much opposition to it. Because, I think this board in the past has taken the position, if you use it, you pay for it, type of approach. And the same thing I think applies with these surcharges. If you have improvements to your system, then the people have to pay for it. If you don't have services or increases or improvements to your facilities, then you shouldn't have to pay for someone else's. And I think that's what's happening in the rate increases they're now asking for statewide. For instance, they may be wanting Lake Landor to help pay for Lake Caroline's improvements. So I think just basic rates is not right.
We're going to move, yeah, and I think we need to do that. My thought was, does the Dillon rule work both ways? Because if we're a Dillon rule state, the SCC doesn't have explicit permission from the General Assembly. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV, but it sure sounds logical.
It's a similar concept. It's not Dillon rule, but it's statutory authority, and that's exactly the same concept.
Okay. All right. So that's what we're going to have them look at. We're going to move forward. Mr. Black, I understand you did a great job of that at your constituent meeting, too. So we're going to move forward. Mrs. Kennedy, just to let you know, I gave the resolution back, but it did mention all of the other subdivisions that had aqua. Campbell's Creek, Elsinore, Bridal Woods, Lake Caroline, Lake Landor. So we're trying to cover them all, and I hope that's all that we have to cover. So we're going to move forward with that and put our trust in the county attorney to do the best they can. All right, we'll move to agenda item number 7.
Can I ask one more question about the rate increase? Now, in the past, the attorneys have participated to a degree. Are we saying that we are wanting the attorneys to participate as they have in the past? And we're willing to pick up that charge?
I think that's what we were saying, is we were gonna file the resolutions first and then get some kind of idea of what her cost would be.
Okay, she testified before the State Corporation Commission in the past and participated in those, so I would think we'd want that same arrangement.
Yeah, but you're going to get us an idea of what that costs before we start all that, so we'll know. Because if she says it's going to cost $500,000, we're probably not going to do it. You want to give us a ballpark now, or is it still in the $30,000?
It would be consistent with whatever we've done in the past.
Yeah,
I can tell you, we could figure out what we did in the past.
Yeah, between $5,000 and $9,000, something in that neighborhood.
I thought it was a lot more than that.
No, not for her.
Now, the one we don't know the cost would be the one where the expert might have to be brought in and having to defend in writing the legal brief for the surcharge.
just to make sure there's not a lot of heartburn, if you could just get us what you spent in the past and send it to Mr. Culley, and he'll send it to the rest of the board, so we'll at least know what that time frame is. All right. Number 7 is the discussion in response to the RFP for general reassessment of real property. That's you, Mr. Culley?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I just put this on in all the other reassessments I had been through in my previous employments. I had board members that are very much interested in sitting on the interview committee as we interviewed the firms, because reassessment is really the function of the board. It's not really a commissioner of revenues function. It's a board of supervisors function. And so I didn't know whether you all had any interest of one or two of you sitting in on. We have 3 firms that have responded to our request for proposals to try to get a feel for the type of personnel they have and how their methodology about going out and getting a general reassessment accomplished. And so I'm just offering that to you. If obviously we'll interview them if not, but if any of you have the time or the inkling to want to do that, we put that out there for you. The other question we have is if you were going to do a board of assessors or just do the required board of equalization. So that's up to you. You've always done that in the past, right? You always have. I just making sure you're. That's fine. I'm just.
That's the citizen board.
That is correct.
Basically, you appoint a citizen board. So.
Correct. So we need to be thinking about that as well. Don't need it yet, but have to be thinking about it. The critical path is we need to interview the firms, and so we can work toward a contract.
When do you expect the selection and the interviews?
We'll schedule that in the next several weeks. I mean, the firms have proposed, was just a matter of we put that on tonight, see if anybody's interested. And if we've got 1 or 2 members, then we'll find out your schedules. Pam will work toward to getting those set up.
Anyone interested in being on the selection committee?
I don't know my work schedule right now, but having been here through one, I think it would be hugely advantageous to have somebody on the board actually sitting through this.
I just think you open yourself up as a board member to ridicule, because I can tell you, no one's going to be happy on the reassessments. They haven't been in the past. People just, when you're dealing with their taxes, they don't like it. I do not want to serve, I can assure you that, on the board of assessors. I mean, on the...
But we
not on the board of assessors, but just on the interview.
On the interview panel.
And all I would say to that is, obviously in Middlesex we had numerous controversies around reassessment, and I had members that did want to make sure that they interviewed the firm to try to improve that process to make sure they were connected. Just offering, we certainly can handle it without you, but didn't want to do it without at least offering.
And board members would be able to sit in on any interview you're doing. Pretty much you still would have the selection process, but if somebody wanted to observe the firm we had last go round, because they're one of the bidders, somebody could come and sit in on that. So, okay. All right, so I think does anyone, Mr. Taylor, you want to be on the interview panel? Mr. Black? Mr. Underwood? Okay, I don't think anybody wants to be on the interview panel formally. And we do want to go with the Board of Assessors, which we've done already. So I think that takes care of this.
You have to do a board equalization.
Yes, and that's kind of the way we've done it before. You have to have a Board of Equalization. You don't have to have a Board of Assessors, but we did both before. And I guess that'll be our process, so we'll start thinking about appointments we need to make there. Okay. That's direction on 7. 8 is capital projects update.
As you can see, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, most of these items are moving along pretty much at the same pace, other than the schools are continuing as they are paying out for additional work that they're having done on the track. So we've just about spent $1 million at the high school, $160,000 at Madison. Most of our other projects are pretty much complete, other than the radio system, which we're 63% at this time.
What additional work are they doing on the track? Just finishing the paving?
Just finished paying for it, right? We just paid $2 for that. Yeah. No, we're not changing the color, no.
But-
Just
but that
whatever they
nine-
contracted for. Is what's-
That 965 is not what the track costs.
No, that's design, for various design bills.
Is the track in there at all yet?
Yes.
But not all of it,
What was the track, 300,000?
329.
Yeah.
And they paid 54,000 last night, and they owe another 20-something.
Okay. All right. And the radio system, we will not complete that project until the spring when we can do a leaf test, right?
Right, as you can see, we're just now getting leases on some of these towers, and still some tower sites we don't have leases on yet. Not through anything we've been able to do, just working with the company.
Okay, water tank repairs, blah, blah, blah.
All the rest of those are pretty much just...
Okay. That looks good.
The calendar, the only thing I would remind you is we have our Harvest Festival this week. Frog Level Day is, Fall Festival is the 25th. The 28th at 7 o'clock at RACSB's building over across from the high school, we have their annual meeting that they invite us to on that particular Tuesday. And don't forget, our next regular meeting is Thursday, the 13th of November.
Yes, gentlemen, the 11th, our normal meeting day is Veterans Day, so the meeting's going to be on the 13th, also conflicted with VACO. Thursday the 13th, not Friday, Thursday the 13th. Now, that will be a change, so we have to make sure we advertise a lot, because we also had a public hearing for tonight that was canceled because of advertising issues. So we need to make sure we get those in, advertised again, and advertise a lot in a big red flashing banner and whatnot on the webpage that the board meeting is on the 13th and not the 11th. And most of us are invited to the Veterans Day at the 11th with the Caroline Middle Schools doing something again. I can't remember that till. It's outside. I mean, it's not the middle school. Yes, it's the middle school history club at the high school, outside. You don't need to pass to be outside. All right, well, okay. That takes care of that. Then we have two more closed sessions, prospective business and legal counsel. 3?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got closing board comments. Mr. Taylor, you want to do closing board comments after the sessions? I think we should do closing board comments after the closed session.
That's fair.
So there may be something to talk about there. Okay. We need another motion to go into closed meeting under Section 2.23711A. The 25th. Yes. Where would you like to move it to? Monday the 24th? I don't have a problem. Right. Right. The 2nd of December? Then we'd be meeting on the 2nd and the 9th. I don't think they'll have everything together on the 2nd and 9th. Let's try the 2nd. 2nd work for most of us now?
December 2nd.
December 2nd, we're going to, Mr. Cully, we're going to do the scheduling. We would like to move our November 25th meeting to December 2nd.
So
Then we're going to meet again on the 9th.
The 2nd and the 9th.
Right, right. So we may want to pack the 2nd with public hearings, and then the 9th without, or the 9th with public hearings, either way. We can do one or the other. So all right, we'll try to move those two. All right, now we need a motion to go into both of these? Ann? Both of these? A7 is legal matters and A5 is prospective business, so both of those. Oh. Okay, Mr. Underwood, I'm going to need, according to the county attorney, I'm going to need a motion to move our November 25th meeting to December 2nd. So would you make that motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion's made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Akers to move our November 25th meeting to December 2nd. That also gives everybody a kind of non-rush before Thanksgiving, but it also puts a little stress on staff to, you could get us the board packets on Monday instead of, because you won't be in on Friday because we already approved the governor's vacation schedule or holiday schedule, so you're off on Friday. We can get the board packets on Monday. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. The motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to close the meeting under Section 2.23711A7 Code of Virginia to discuss specific legal matters related to proffer requirements. And we're going into Section 15.23711A5, prospective business where no previous announcement has been made. Motion to that effect would be in order.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Taylor and Mr. Akers. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. We are in closed meeting. Motion made by Mr. Seeley, motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Akers. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Mr. Taylor, do you certify that only those things we went into closed session were discussed?
I so certify.
Mr. Black?
I so certify.
Mr. Underwood?
I so certify.
Mr. Akers?
I so certify.
Mr. Seeley?
I so certify, Mr. Chairman.
And I so certify. That takes care of it. We had no action out of the... No, we don't have any action out of that. We need to do closing board comments. We said we were going to delay those. Mr. Taylor?
I have none.
Mr. Black?
None at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Underwood?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
No, sir.
Mr. Seeley?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Fincham left?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we were trying to, Charlie, we can figure out, because we were trying to figure out the best way to expedite this rezoning at Belmont.
Well, I talked to him, it's a planning commission subdivision
They're
review.
gonna try.
Yeah, subdivision
That's right.
review,
To-
yeah.
to
I talked to him
your
about that.
planning commission member to see if
Right.
they do it at the work session. They don't normally do things at the work session. They're just doing a subdivision.
I'll talk to him. We have one matter we would like to bring.
And there was one thing you had to add. Okay.
We'd like to have Mr. Shebel advertise an amendment to the solid waste management plan, so we can have a public hearing on that December 2nd, the meeting that you all moved.
Okay. We need a motion to that effect? Is there a motion to that effect?
Yes, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Underwood makes the
Second.
motion. Mr. Akers makes the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Is that it? Nothing else? Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.